Hello. Welcome to the channel, everybody. My name is Elizabeth. I am your friendly hillbilly host, and this is Hillbilly Crime. We will get Zelmy on here in just a minute. We're waiting on her. And so let's go ahead and say hi to everybody. Hello, beautiful ladies. I'm so excited to see you are on at 9 tonight. I moderate on another channel, and sometimes y'all overlap. Well, good. Welcome. Okay, so what does everybody think about what News Nation dropped? The claim that Mickey Stines had a bad temper. I want to watch it again. I'm going to wait until Mommy gets on here, though, because I want her to see it, too, from the beginning. So we'll just kill a little time here. I just hollered at her and told her to come on, so she'll be here any minute. All right. Art and M Productions. Hi, we love your coverage. Finally catching a live. Welcome. I'm so glad that you are here. I don't want to say too much. I don't want to comment too much before we watch it a second time. I want to wait and rewatch it. It's only 6 minutes, so it's not long. We also have an article of I guess I could go ahead and read that one while we're waiting on Zelma. Let me put it up here and let you guys see this. This is an old case that kind of got lost in time, but it's got so many similarities to this case. All right. This was a Kentucky community was shaken by a courthouse pew-pew in 1922. This was written by Barry Craig, September 30th, 2024. Now, that is the old courthouse. It's the Graves County Courthouse in Mayfield in 1942. That's when that picture was taken. 20 years before a deputy fatally pew-pewed the sheriff and stood trial there. The building was damaged beyond repair in the December 2021 tornado outbreak. So it was standing all that time. It was just recently destroyed. Photo by George Goodman, 1876, 1961. Okay, that must have been his birth and death. Okay. The September 19th Whitesburg slaying wasn't the first time one county official was charged with unaliving another in a Kentucky courthouse. Letcher County Sheriff Sean Stines, Mickey, 43, is accused of first-degree red rum for allegedly pew-pewing District Judge Kevin Mullins, 54, in his chambers. So far, the sheriff's motive is unclear. On March 6, 1922, Deputy Sam Galloway, 29, gunned down Graves County Sheriff John T. Roach, 30, in the sheriff's office. Galloway evidently unalived Roach after he heard the sheriff planned to fire him. Stines, who immediately surrendered to authorities, pleaded not guilty and remains jailed without bond. A preliminary hearing has been set for October 1st, so this was written before that. The Whitesburg pew-pew has attracted state and national media coverage. Likewise, the Mayfield pew-pew grabbed newspaper headlines across Kentucky and the country. The latter ultimately led to a book, A Courthouse Tragedy, Politics, Red Rum, and Redemption in a Small Kentucky Town. Sound familiar? Written by the late Murray attorney Sid Easley, a Graves County native. Published 10 years ago, it's still available on Amazon. Easley wrote that Roach and Galloway had been friends. Both wanted to run for sheriff in the August 1921 Democratic primary. Apparently, the two men struck a deal. Galloway would bow out in favor of Roach, who would appoint him a deputy, a post that often was a stepping stone for sheriff. After he won the primary and easily defeated a Republican in the general election, Roach kept his word. But trouble brewed when Galloway found out that Roach planned to cut his pay and work hours. Worse, Galloway later learned that his days as a deputy were numbered. Galloway confronted Roach in the sheriff's office on circuit court day. Both became angry. Galloway pew-pewed Roach 3 times with a .45, according to Easley's book. Galloway quickly handed over his weapon and submitted to arrest. Fearing mob violence against the prisoner, authorities transported him to the McCracken County Jail in Paducah. On March 7th, the Graves County grand jury indicted Galloway for willful red rum, which carried a maximum sentence of death or life imprisonment. The case against Galloway seemed open and shut. After all, there were multiple witnesses. Roach's death resulted in a historical first for Kentucky. His widow, Lois Roach, was named to succeed him. Apparently, the state's first woman sheriff. She was elected in her own right in 1923 and re-elected to a second 2-year term in 1925. Galloway's trial began on June 26th. Because he and the late sheriff had many friends in Mayfield and Graves County, Circuit Judge W.H. Hester summoned a jury from adjacent Ballard County. Galloway pleaded self-defense, claiming he fired only when he saw Roach reach in his pocket for his. His testimony was disputed. The prosecution characterized the deputy as a cold-blooded red rum. Hey, did I not send you the link? Okay, I sent it. I'm sorry. Bye. My bad, y'all. I forgot to send Mommy her link. Give me just a second. And let me send it to her. Oops. Small oversight on my part there. Give me just a second. And we'll get back to the story. I think this story has so many similarities to what's happened in this case. Somebody sent this to me today, so thank you who sent it to me. There she is. I was pretty sure I sent it to her, but maybe I didn't. Nope, I didn't. There she is. Okay. Sorry, y'all. All right. We'll wait on her. It'll just take her a second. I trust more what you say than anonymous sources. Well, thank you. Hello from Wisconsin. You're sure a busy lady. My dogs kept barking on Gavin Fish tonight, y'all. I was sitting there like, I was sending my kids messages saying, come get these dogs. There's Selmy. Okay. Sorry, Mom. All right.
That's all right.
I'm reading this article of a case that was very similar to this one. All right. Galloway's trial began on June 26th. Because he and the late sheriff had many friends in Mayfield and Graves County, Circuit Judge W.H. Hester summoned a jury from adjacent Ballard County. Galloway pleaded self-defense, claiming he fired. Is that? Did I already read that? Claiming he fired only when he saw Roach reach in his pocket for his. His testimony was disputed. The prosecution characterized the deputy as a cold-blooded red rummer. The jury deliberated for 3 days and failed to reach a verdict. Listen to this. This is just fascinating. Hester declared a mistrial and prepared to set a date for a second trial, Easley wrote. Hester gavelled the court into session on July 26 with jurors from Carlisle County, which also adjoined Graves. The judge stopped the trial after a juror unexpectedly died on July 28th. The judge scheduled a third trial, also with Carlisle Countyans in the jury box, for August 1st. In his charge to the jury, Hester said Galloway could be found not guilty, found guilty of red rum and sentenced to death or life imprisonment, or found guilty of voluntary manslaughter and imprisoned for not less than 2 nor more than 21 years. On August 4th, the panel convicted Galloway of the lesser charge and sentenced him to 7 years. Hester subsequently denied a defense motion for another trial, and Galloway's lawyers gave up on a fourth trial. After his release from Eddyville Penitentiary, Galloway moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma with his second wife. His first wife died soon after he was locked up. The couple had 2 sons. One lived to 72, the other born while the deputy was jailed and awaiting his first trial, died at age 5.
Oh.
Galloway was 74 when his life ended in Tulsa in 1968. He is buried in a Tulsa cemetery. Roach and his widow, who died in 1979 at 83, are buried in Mayfield's old Maplewood Cemetery. A metal plaque recognizes her as the first woman sheriff in Kentucky. Besides his spouse, Roach was survived by their 3-year-old daughter, Ruth, who lived to age 86. The 1880s vintage red brick courthouse where Galloway violently ended Roach's life and was punished for his crime is gone, a casualty of the deadly December 10th, 2021 tornado that devastated much of Mayfield. Easley ended his book by quoting the editor of the Mayfield Weekly Messenger, who 3 days after the Pew Pew urged the citizenry to be calm, collected, and full of the spirit that controls sadness and tears. And yet, it is also the time for wise men and those who love the integrity and honor of Mayfield to counsel peace and the law. That's awesome. The author concluded, the voice of that editor eloquently reminded the community that the spirit of redemption was always present, and that the wise among them should reach for the healing offered by its power of restoration. That is really, really cool. Okay, so let me go over here to this, and we're going to watch this again.
Clothes. And then later, I also have learned that when he went to call his daughter, the sources claimed that he was.
The prosecutor said it could take 4 to 6 months to collect and test all the evidence that they may use at trial. There is a video. So I ask again, what am I missing? Lucky for me, Allison Weiner is here again. She is News Nation's investigative producer and has worked this story in Letcher County from the beginning. Okay, Allison, man, you've been finding out a lot, and I have been sort of going crazy trying to figure out what could a motive possibly be to see an act like that play out so starkly. Have you learned more about the motive?
I have, and I think first of all we need to say that the daughters are not involved. Sheriff Stines' daughter had nothing to do with Sheriff Mullins. That has been told to me by multiple sources multiple times. But I think what we want to also say is that this is still, the Sheriff Stines did shoot Judge Mullins, and that is, he did kill him. So whatever we say, now let me just talk about why he might have done that. I've talked to multiple sources, and I found out a lot in the last couple of days. I found out that Sheriff Stines was getting a lot of pressure on him prior to the civil deposition that he was involved in. As you said, he was sued for Deputy Fields' behavior, his using, sex trafficking and also engaging in sex by keeping people out of jail who were already convicted. And that is the thing that we know happened criminally. And the only person held responsible was Deputy Fields. What we have found out now from multiple sources is that not only was Sheriff Stines involved in that activity, in the sexual activities that were happening in that courthouse, but also there have been allegations that Judge Mullins was involved. And Judge Mullins also was involved in sex trafficking, according to several sources. So prior to this deposition, was told to me, and certainly by Sheriff Stines' lawyer, but also by two other sources, that Sheriff Stines was under a lot of pressure prior to the deposition. We talked before about how the sheriff couldn't say anything, how quiet he was during the deposition, and he was known for being outspoken, very kind of prickly, had a bad temper, and somehow he made it through the...
See, let me stop at right there. Did you hear what she just said, Mom?
Said he had a bad temper.
She said he had a prickly personality. Is that what she said? Let me rewind that. I want to hear this again.
Kind of prickly, had a bad temper. He kind of prickly, had a bad temper, and somehow he made it through that whole deposition without, shouting or losing his temper and being kind of almost zoned out. It was described to me by Ned Pillersdorf, who is representing the plaintiff in that civil rights action. So I think what we've learned now is that this scandal, this sex for favors, sex for keeping women who were drug addicts out of prison, getting them home detention or getting them rehab help, goes higher than Sheriff Stines. And when he sat down for that deposition, there was incredible pressure on him to talk about things that he wasn't supposed to talk about people that he's not supposed to talk about. And that pressure became incredibly intense before he testified, and there was pressure on him after he testified in that deposition under oath. The only person that seemed to be taking any responsibility or being on the hook for this sex scandal, besides Deputy Fields, who already had been sentenced, served his 3 months in jail for one complainant, one woman who said that she was forced into sex in order to be able to stay in her home and not go to jail. We know that there are other victims. I have spoken to other alleged victims, and we will be following up on that with you, Ashley.
Let me ask you this. I got a checklist. Can you tell me, true or not true, that the sheriff is claiming that it was the judge who brought him, the sheriff, in on the sex ring, meaning favors to inmates if they come into chambers and perform sex acts, and that something happened at the lunch that they were at the day of the execution. Is there any truth to that?
There is some truth to it. The sheriff isn't claiming it. I have 2 to 3 sources who have told me that Judge Mullins was the architect of this sex for favor scheme and was...
That was their word. I told Gavin that was my word. I thought my brain made that up. That was her word. That's where I got that from, y'all. So that I was afraid that I was saying something that was, that was not accurate. And so I'm glad that I heard that.
Heavily involved, and that there is another witness who said actually that he was sent women by Judge Mullins for sex. So the sex trafficking, that is what we've heard. In terms of what happened at that lunch, I've heard a lot of different versions from a lot of different people. So I can't say for certain. I do know that the sheriff was anxious to speak to the judge. He had not spent the night in his home. He's had trouble with his wife and their relationship for years, apparently. He had stepped out, so forth and so on. But it had.
I want to stop at there too. Said that there's been problems for years, and I don't think that's accurate. Do you, Mommy? Do you?
Well, I never heard that, but I don't
shouldn't say that.
I don't keep
Right.
up with such things.
I know. I don't neither. We're not all busybodied like that, but you would have heard, I'm sure that you would have heard something at some point in time.
When she says there's trouble, what one person would define as trouble, the other one may not. Now,
True.
Why he didn't spend the night in his home, I don't know. It could have been anything.
Well, one of my sources has said that it was due to whatever this paranoia that he had going on, that was the reason why he hadn't been staying at his house. Now, of course, we don't know of that for sure, but
well, he had to have some paranoia because he was having to do that whatever that was,
deposition.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's enough to make you paranoid.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
And that night he had been kicked out, and he came to that lunch in his civilian clothes. And then later, I also have learned that when he went to call his daughter, the sources claimed that he was calling his daughter to say goodbye because he knew what he was going to do.
Wow.
And
that's unreal.
He couldn't reach her on
his daughter and using both phones. Yeah, using his phone and couldn't reach her, and then use the judge's phone to tell her that that's what he's about to do. Okay, keep digging. This is incredible, and I know there's a lot more. I'm still waiting for the definitive proof because. Quickly.
I'm sorry, we just want to tell our viewers that this goes higher. There wasn't just one Deputy Fields, who was involved in this scheme. He wasn't the only one abusing women who were drug addicted and helpless and unable to tell anyone about what was happening to them.
Thanks for watching.
Well, we also have tonight the civil lawsuit that was filed against Benfield's, the ankle monitor company, and Mickey. So I have that too. And I have flipped it through to the part where it says, this thing is really long. Like, it's really long. This is on page 11, going into page 12, and it'll go a couple pages. But the title here says additional factual background related to EKCS, which I think that is the monitoring company, and the Letcher County Sheriff's Department. So this is what is being alleged in the civil suit, okay? The one that is on hold right now because of all this stuff with Mickey. And I think it's very telling because this is where the boyfriend of Jennifer Hill claims that he went in to report the sexual abuse that was happening to his girlfriend. And he explains and swears, I guess that I'm sure that they swore him his deposition, swore him in under oath for the deposition. So this is what he is attesting to. And the name of it, what did I say? It's additional factual background related. Okay. Upon information and belief, defendant Stines recommended defendant Fields to defendant EKCS for employment. So that means Mickey recommended, because remember, Mickey was the one who did the house arrest and ankle monitoring program before he became sheriff. So he's the one who is recommending his replacement. Upon information and belief, defendant, I'm just going to say ankle monitor company, hired defendant Fields in 2020 to oversee the home incarceration ankle monitoring program in Letcher County. Upon information and belief, the company failed to provide defendant Fields with any significant training related to his position with them. Upon information and belief, the company failed to create and check for safeguards to ensure that defendant Fields was providing accurate and truthful information about persons within Letcher County who were ordered to be put on home incarceration. The company knew or should have known that defendant Fields worked as a Letcher County deputy sheriff and regularly performed services for the company while wearing his Letcher County Sheriff's Department uniform and driving his sheriff's deputy vehicle. Upon information and belief, Fields inaccurately notified the company that Sabrina had been taken off of house arrest sometime in the fall of 2021. The company knew or should have known that its home incarceration program was rife for abuse and was indeed being abused by defendant Fields. Upon information and belief in December 2021, Fields, as well as numerous other persons who work at the Letcher County Jail, Letcher County Courthouse, and the Letcher County Sheriff's Department, were aware that Sabrina had made allegations against Fields as described above. Upon information and belief, a complaint was made by a friend of Sabrina Adkins to persons working in the Letcher County Drug Court program about sexual harassment and abuse by Fields against Sabrina. Well, that would have probably been his sister, because remember, his sister is the one, Ben Fields' sister is the one who's over the drug court program upstairs in the circuit court. So I don't know about that. Anyway. Upon information and belief, the complaint either provided copies of inappropriate text messages between Fields and Sabrina or notified such persons that text messages existed. Upon information and belief, Fields and other deputy sheriffs were aware of these allegations related to Sabrina in early December 2021. Upon information and belief, Stines knew or should have known about these allegations related to Sabrina on or before early December 21. Upon information and belief, these allegations were not appropriately investigated by Sheriff Stines. In early December 21, Jennifer's fiance called the Letcher County Sheriff's Department to complain about Fields. During this call, Jennifer's fiance spoke to a female Letcher County Sheriff's deputy and notified her that defendant Fields had been sexually harassing Jennifer. This female Letcher County Sheriff's deputy hung up on Jennifer's fiance. On December 15th, 2021, Jennifer's fiance went to the Letcher County Sheriff's Department in person to make a complaint against Fields. Jennifer's fiance spoke to Letcher County Deputy Sheriff Whitaker, who told him that the complaint would be investigated and he needed to keep quiet about this while it was investigated. Very soon after leaving the sheriff's department, Jennifer's fiance was pulled over in his vehicle by Letcher County Deputy Sheriff Norris, who was accompanied by a female deputy. Now, I have heard that that was supposed to have been Norris, and I've heard this from a couple different sources. So I don't know if it's true or not, but it was supposed to have been. What I heard was it was Norris and Angie, his wife, allegedly. But it only names Deputy Norris in this. Deputy Norris asked Jennifer's fiance what the F he thought he was doing and told him that he needed to keep his effing nose out of the sheriff department's business. Later this same day, Jennifer's fiance was pulled over again by a man who refused to identify himself by name. But enough people watch this show that live around here. If you guys know who this is, tell me. Send me a message and tell me. Later the same day, Jennifer's fiance was pulled over again by a man who refused to identify himself by name, who was driving a red Silverado pickup truck, wore a badge, and was carrying a pew-pew. This individual identified himself as being from the sheriff's department and told Jennifer's fiance that he had stuck his nose where it don't belong and called him a liar. This individual also told Jennifer's fiance that Defendant Fields was involved with people who are high up on the ladder, who he should not mess with. This individual further threatened Jennifer's fiance and his family and told him to forget about his complaint about Defendant Fields. During the time that this individual was detaining and threatening Jennifer's fiance, he was speaking to other unknown persons on his cell phone and on a radio in his truck. Upon information and belief, this individual was speaking to other persons employed by the Letcher County Sheriff's Department. A couple hours later, Jennifer's fiance was stopped for a third time by another Letcher County Sheriff's deputy driving his official vehicle. This deputy notified Jennifer's fiance that there had been a lot of chatter about Defendant Fields and his complaint that day. Listen, it's the biggest gossip mill down there in Whitesburg you ever saw, and it happens very fast. You can't walk out of the courtroom and walk into a lawyer's office and them not already know what happened in the courtroom. Like, it's a big time gossip mill down there. This deputy told Jennifer's fiance that they didn't need any trouble like this in the Letcher County Sheriff's Department because they were all barely getting paid as it was. Well, ain't that nice? This deputy was also speaking to someone on his cell phone and radio during the exchange. Upon information and belief, the above-mentioned communications to Jennifer's fiance were aimed at intimidating, harassing, and silencing Jennifer. Upon information and belief, the Letcher County Sheriff's Department failed to reasonably investigate the allegations related to Jennifer. Do you think it's a stretch of the imagination to think that somebody wouldn't OD her on purpose to get rid of her? I mean, it's possible. Upon information and belief, the Letcher County Sheriff and unknown supervisors of Defendant Fields failed to adequately train and supervise Defendant Fields and other Letcher County Sheriff's Department employees. Upon information and belief, the Letcher County Sheriff knew or should have known that Defendant Fields was sexually abusing females, including plaintiffs in his charge. Upon information and belief, other persons employed by the Letcher County Sheriff's Department have harassed and intimidated persons associated with Sabrina and Jennifer in an attempt to discourage other women from coming forward and to disparage Sabrina and Jennifer. Upon information and belief, defendant Stines did not timely or reasonably respond to reports or suspicions of sexual abuse perpetrated by defendant Fields. The defendant's conduct described above has caused severe injury to plaintiffs for which they are entitled to recover actual damages in an amount to be determined at trial. What do y'all think? Oh, look, there's somebody donated 10 gifted memberships. So you guys that have been wanting one, go try. You have to hit that little join button. And if you get one, please thank the person who gave them. Let me get down here. I'm trying to find it. Allegedly Lisa. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you guys get one, tell her thank you. Bless you, sissy. Bless you. Oh, Miss Marnie. I think people are scared to come forward. What do you think, Mommy?
Well, I think that all of them knew about it, and there probably are more people that knew about it, what was going on there, than we've even been exposed to. But the more stuff that comes to light, the worse it looks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what they were doing, and I think it was pretty widespread, and I think there were other sexual things going on besides just that one thing. You know what I'm saying? Just not, people besides Fields.
Well, I could see. Well, I just don't know. I was going to say I could see if Mickey didn't know any of this was ever going on and somebody came and said something about it. I mean, I could see how you would be like, what? That ain't happening.
Well, that's what we would do. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, you'd have to take it serious if somebody came and said that the police was stopping him.
Yep. I don't know. I think it's just awful. Yes, them saying he had a prickly personality doesn't sound right to me, but I didn't know Mickey that well. I mean, I've seen Mickey arrest people before, and I've never seen him like real aggressive and, manhandling people and up in their face, screaming at them, cussing them out, calling them names. We've got a lot of that out around here, but he wasn't like that, was he, Mom?
Well, I never did think he was. He was the only, like I said before, he came and helped me get my car unlocked because I only had one key, and I had left it in the ignition, and the dog was in the car, and it locked itself in, and it was hot. But me and him did fuss one time about dogs, and they were in cages, and they were in cages on both ends of my street, and I was trying to get somebody to do something about it.
They were starving, I remember, and they were in
I thought they were.
They were in that much mess in the bottom of their cage. I remember that.
And I snuck up there and fed one, and he cautioned me not to do that. But I couldn't do that. I was in violation of the law. Yada, yada, yada. So,
well, I won't say his name, but didn't you have a police officer pull his pew pew out on you over your fence or something up there one time?
Well, he didn't pull his gun out. It was over. Yeah, I had a fence and my dog jumped out. But he came down there yaddying about it. Probably somebody had sent him, had complained that they used to walk up there a lot. So, but that guy didn't pull his gun out, but he got real nervous and he kept handling it. And I looked at him and I said, I'm going to shut my mouth. That man's going to shoot me. Now, that was a thought that ran through my mind because he was so upset.
Yeah, I know.
I wasn't upset,
When they came and got me that night, that guy had his pew pew drawn on me. And, I kept thinking he's gonna, if I keep running my mouth, he's gonna
shoot me.
Yep.
I mean, you're not cussing them. You're just saying you're disagreeing with them. But I guess you can't do that. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know how you're supposed to act.
I wasn't smart enough to shut my mouth. I just can't. I sang Jesus hymns as loud as I could sing them all the way to the jail.
That's all right.
He couldn't even talk on the radio because I was singing Jesus. So loud he couldn't stand it.
That was pretty weird. I'll have to say that. That they came and arrested you like that.
9:30 at night. They thought, I know exactly what they thought. They thought they was going to be able to catch me at night at home by myself with my kids, and they could call social services in to take them. Little did they know they were gone at vacation Bible school with my neighbor. So it didn't work out the way that he thought it was going to. I better say allegedly. But, that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about. It's the way that they abuse the system. They know that they can drag you into court and do stuff, and then they can just throw it out. But they've caused you enough trouble. They've made you spend the night in jail, or they've made you tow your car, or just some kind of power trip. And I'm not saying they're all that way, but we have sure had our fair share. And we're women. Like, my mommy stands about 5'3", 5'2". She's
only 4'11" now.
4'11", and she's 80 years old almost now. This was about 10 years ago, maybe 15. Not 15. Gregory's not 15 yet. So it ain't been 15 years. But, these men get so angry when you disagree with them. I've had them chest bump me and all kinds of stuff. That same one you're talking about did you that way. He was the one down there chest bumping me.
I got a bug flying around in here.
This ankle monitoring company definitely needs to have follow the money investigation done on them. Well, one thing that we learned throughout going through those interviews and stuff, I saw more receipts that were written for people's ankle monitors, their weekly fees. More receipts were written by his wife, who worked at the jail at the time, than Ben and his wife. So I just don't know how all that's involved. When you got more people, why wasn't, not that I would want it to be, but why wasn't the judge or other people involved in that lawsuit? It was his office. Did he have a duty to keep his office locked and away from other people. I don't know. I'm asking the question. I'm not making a statement. Other people that were taking fees. I just think I don't know what I think. What do you all think? I can't see the judge being okay with him wanting to call his daughter to say goodbye like that. To me, that doesn't make sense. Well, I don't think he would have known that that's what he was doing. Let's see. Does Jennifer's fiance still live in the county? That's a good question. I don't think any of them lived in this county. I think if I'm correct, I think Jennifer and Sabrina was from Pike County, or Floyd County, one. And Jennifer Hill, I'm not sure if she lived in Letcher County or not. Do any of you all know? A lot of you guys know a lot more than I do. So people not even in on the acts were willing parts of the intimidation. Why? Why stand by dirty rats? Well, so did Norris not resign after all? Somebody told me that he had resigned afterwards. And then we thought maybe that we had him mistaken with Whitaker. I think Whitaker had resigned. Norris, I don't know if he still works for the sheriff's department or if he's working for Whitesburg City. You know, these people they change from one department to the next, They'll go from Jenkins to Whitesburg to the sheriff's department, or to the probation office, and back around. Or they'll go to Elkhorn, or, they just move around. There is zero reason they would jump from Fields to Mullins without mentioning Stines, though. You would just say all of them. Right. Maybe Mickey had started partaking if you in the cookie jar for too long. I don't know. My family is from the Whitesburg area and Harlan. Absolutely. Allegedly, Lisa, you're all very welcome. Welcome aboard and welcome to the family. If you've not hit that subscribe button, please do that. It doesn't cost anything. It's free. You can hit the like button if you like our stuff, and it helps us get out to more people. So if you would just take a second and do that for us, we'd sure appreciate it. Bugman22 says, my family is from the Whitesburg area and Harlan. Victoria says, law enforcement, lots of time, prohibit family working in the same location. Well, not here. Not here. Nepotism at its best in Kentucky. There's a whole lot of families that have long histories in law enforcement, courthouse jobs, and community ties. Yeah. Word travels quickly around here. I think the Smex ring or Smex trafficking thing they were talking about was mostly just with the local inmates and such. That's just what I'm assuming. And you think, what about the men? we're seeing more and more women teachers getting caught with these little boys. You think women that are in powerful positions like that? I mean, we don't really have any women around here that that even hold any positions like that. And something else I was thinking about the other day, not to change the subject, but it just jumped in my head that I forgot to mention this. We were talking about ARC. Well, the original, when the opioid crisis all started and such, who was the original? It was Operation Unite. Operation Unite was started many, many, many years ago. And it has grown into a multi-million dollar nonprofit. I mean, they've got such high salaries over there. It knocked me out just looking at one of them. I don't know what happened to Zelmy, y'all. Yay, Teresa, Tea Garden. I finally got a membership. Well, tell Lisa, allegedly Lisa, thank you. Anybody who got one, bless her, bless her, bless her. The good old boys can make anything or anyone disappear without a trace. Was there an actual ambulance show up along with Stines and Fields saying she was down when she was up and active? Should be a call log, right? Yes, I heard her say that too. So what See You Later is referring to is in one of those interviews. I don't remember if it was Hill or Sabrina, but one of them said that she had just gotten home. And here shows up Ben, Mickey, and like a whole bunch of cop cars, ambulances, all this stuff. And she was getting her groceries out of her car. And he was yelling at her and going on. And I'm paraphrasing what I remember. And she said that he was all upset, saying, "Well, I thought you OD'd. I thought you OD'd." But he was yelling at her. He was accusing her, like, being mean to her. But I think what he was actually doing was showing her how much power he had with all of his friends. Because he was threatening to take her back to jail. He did not show up in any concerned manner. That's not how I perceived that. He wasn't there to make sure she was okay. Yes, Harlan is just right across Harlan County is just right across the mountain. Cumberland, that's where the preacher man's from, y'all.
Which one?
Michael Clark.
Oh.
Yes, welcome new members. So I did kind of find out something about the Michael Clark thing. So he ended up inside the Purple Purse. I love that name. Became a YouTube member. Congratulations. Thank you. So he became a preacher man, and he was over this church. I'm not sure which church he ended up with or where it was at or anything like that. I heard that they had bought a big piece of property down in Isom Way by the racetrack somewhere. But and I've heard this from two different sources, was that he was getting pressured about the whole thing, misconduct and stuff like that. And I heard that when I first heard this, I didn't dare report it because I'd only heard it from one person. But I was like, what? Said that he wanted to allegedly prove to the church that he was all on the up and up and was all good and whatever. And so he hired a PI to like look into himself, and apparently he had forgotten about he allegedly had forgotten about some party or something. Well, or it might not have been a party. Apparently they found a video, somebody found a video of him acting inappropriately. And so he ended up having to step down. When I heard that, I was like, that's too crazy to even be true.
Has that just been recently?
Yeah. Yeah. And then I heard it from another source today, and they
He
confirmed.
stepped down from the church, or?
Yeah, they confirmed it. They said that the church changed its name and everything to get away from the association, allegedly.
Well, bless their hearts.
You know, it's just all bad.
Well, is it all right if I retire now?
It sure is, Mommy. It sure is. We've been on here an hour. I just wanted to see what other people thought about Mickey, if they thought that he had a bad temper. Jody, 66 girl. He was not aggressive toward those he was arresting. No, he wasn't. So some girl like ran up in my house one day. Mommy was there. We were just chilling in the living room watching TV, and this random chick just busted up in my front door, and she was standing there. She closed the door behind her and was standing there, and she's like, just looking around, and I was like, what the world is going on? She's like, do you remember me? Do you remember me? I was like, no. She said, I came to your church once. And I was like, okay. Well, next thing, I ended up going in the bathroom and sending Mickey a message on Facebook Messenger. And I was like, hey, Mickey, this girl's just in my house. Well, apparently, Mickey had her stopped at the library down the street, and he was searching her backpack. And while he had her backpack up on the hood of the vehicle he was in, searching her backpack, she took off running. And she took off running up back street, and she ran up on our hill and ran down the street. And I guess she saw my car sitting there, and she had recognized it from church whenever she came. I didn't even remember it. And she just busted up in there. And I ended up getting her out of my house. She wouldn't leave. And I was like, she was wanting me to give her a ride somewhere and she didn't tell me Mickey had her stopped down there. And so I finally conned her and told her if she'd go on out and get in my car, I'd be right there. And so when she went out and got in the car was when I messaged Mickey. And then Mickey came up in just a couple minutes. He knew exactly who had ran in my house. And it took him forever to get her out of the trunk of my car. You can't make it up. But he had, I mean, if that would have been me, I would have lost my patience. He didn't lose his patience. I mean, you could tell he was irritated with her, but he wasn't calling her names or screaming at her or jerking her around, or anything like that. But that was just a neat little story about Mickey.
I'm going on that story. I'm going to retire and pet some dogs.
All right, Mommy. Well, you stay warm, and I'll talk to you later, okay?
I will. Them little fellers will keep me toasty.
Yes, they will. I love you.
Love you.
Bye. I believe every small town has corruption, especially in Kentucky. Yes, I'm from a small town in Kentucky. Yeah, let's see. What's anybody? A Woman of Steel became a member. Good deal. Congratulations. I had Bert, but I guess he's retired now. Yeah, I think Bert retired a couple months before that happened with Mickey and Kevin. started patting his thing at me and asked me if they were going to have problems out of me. I've seen him out since then and before this happened. Oh, I had a neon cop draw down on me in the 90s. He was supposedly from Detroit. Now, his name was, he might have been, but they called him Detroit. I remember him. He actually passed away from cancer. I know he had a son, and his son and the mommy came to my church for a very, very, very long time. Valley babies. Sheesh. A thing is never to be pulled unless they're going to use it. I want to stop and make a point on what Gavin Fish said. Tonight we were on the Fish Show. I love Gavin. He's awesome. And he made the point that it didn't look, he asked me if Judge ever carried on himself. And I heard that he did. I've heard that he used to carry one. Obviously, he didn't have one that day. Or he couldn't get to it if he did have one. But Gavin made the comment that he didn't seem like he was trained. Well, I think maybe it was, but I think what he was meaning was in self-defense. I don't think he was trained in self-defense, but I mean, why would he be, right? And I have said in the past, watching the film, watching that security video, if Judge would have just got up, if he would have, tried to wrestle it away from him, if he had tried to fight, if he'd tried to run, they say that we have a fight or flight response to situations. And there was nowhere for him to flight to. Like, there was nowhere for him to run. He was cornered in that chair. But, yeah, and I could Monday morning quarterback it all day long. None of us really know what we would do unless we were in that situation, right? This is his friend of a very, very, very long time. I don't think he thought that Mickey would actually do it. I know that if my friend, I probably wouldn't believe that they would actually do it because I wouldn't actually do it. I couldn't never let it go, so I'm not going to think that somebody else is going to be able to do that, especially my friend. But, my dad used to tell me when I was little, I remember being a little kid, my dad always had house full because they hunted all the time. Mickey was a hunter. But my dad would always tell me, you don't never, ever, ever pull one unless you're prepared to use it because they'll take it away from you and they'll use it on you. You never, ever, ever pull one unless you're going to use it. And Gavin said something tonight. As soon as somebody unholsters it, and you can see that Mickey had it pulled before he ever raised it because his hand was down at his side. And when it comes up, he's already got it pulled out of the holster. That's not one motion. I don't think it is anyway. I know he's kind of behind. His back is kind of to it. His back is to us in the video. But if you watch his hand and his arm, he brings that up from his side. He's not, his elbow's not being pulled to pull that unholster it. So, and Gavin made the comment. as soon as he pulled it, it was a threat. So even though he was standing there with his hand down at his side, why didn't the judge feel the threat? I don't know. I just don't know, y'all. Mountain mover. Apparently, many in this community have been scared for years. My 16-year-old grandson said he thought Norris was going to pew-pew him when he ran up to passenger side truck, jerked taser out, tased him sitting in vehicle in his side. I know that so many police escalate situations instead of de-escalate. If more, but I think that comes with the personality type. Some people are drawn to these careers for the purpose of control and, being able to dominate other people. And I think we have a whole lot of that. Yes. Claire Ivers, you said it. You said a mouthful. Power trip. It's all about power. It's all about power. Love the channel. My grandparents were from Harlan. Been going up there since I was born. Please keep bringing attention to this corruption. Elizabeth, I sang Jesus hymns loud too when I was in a foreign country. And some old Arab dudes were yelling at me on and on. I couldn't understand a word they said except they were mad. I sang on and on. Yeah, that old cop was all mad at me too. And I just sang the name of Jesus, honey. For sure, Georgia Sweet Tea. The hope is positive can come out of this tragedy. Police officers like this are called jack-legged laws. All right. She obviously was doing his job by collecting the money for him. That was probably illegal if she was not employed by the monitoring company. I never thought about that. But if they didn't have any policies and procedures, though, they didn't have nothing. I have no clue the situation, but it is very scary when you're walking up on a traffic stop. It's also been said Mickey allegedly lost 40 pounds in 2 weeks. Also, he had, I haven't heard, I've heard the rumor about that. I've heard the rumor of a few different medical things. But they said that Mickey apparently told the Mountain Eagle, a reporter for the Mountain Eagle, that he had lost 40 pounds in 2 weeks. I don't know. I would think if I were a judge, I would keep everything locked up. Yeah. I wouldn't want nobody in my office. My office, that's kind of a very personal space. But I was very surprised to see the furnishings in the judge's chambers. When I think of a judge's chambers, I don't think of a folding table and a little old chair. I mean, I loved the quilt that he had in there. Somebody's obviously made that for him, and they've probably given it to him. But it just didn't seem very personal of a space. You know, most people kind of decorate. I mean, he had a quilt. That's wonderful. But why didn't he have a much better desk and stuff? I mean, you spend a lot of time in there, right? Or at least you'd think so. Why, Lord, I'm not putting the sheriff on no pedestal. I don't like what he did at all. He wasn't my friend. I mean, he would always talk to me and stuff. Whenever I mean, he wouldn't just come up to me to talk to me. I wasn't that important. But if I had something to talk to him about, he would listen. But, and, you know, he's helped me a couple times when I needed police, just as he would anybody. But if I've not heard something, I'm not going to say that I have and just jump on a bandwagon, you know. If it's true, you know, I'm so sorry. And that's with all of it. You know, I hate the fact that our county has been kind of put out there like this. You know, I know that it's embarrassing to some people. They're ashamed that this spotlight has been brought to us, you know, but we didn't do anything. Like the people of this community are not the guilty parties here. You know, it's the people that are committing these crimes that know better. You know, these people all know better, even though, you know, it's the way that it's always been. Boys will be boys, and, you know, but they still know better. They know when they're committing something, committing a crime, when they're breaking the law. Here, let me pull this up. I was gonna put this in here. And okay. So this was in 2014. And this is just an example of what I've been talking about. All right. Police chief cited for DUI says it's unfortunate and he won't do it again. Cited for DD, you guys know what that is. That everybody knows not to do. Cited for DD and hazard over the weekend, Whitesburg Police Chief Tyrone Fields said Monday that he had learned from the experience. Fields, who has been police chief in Whitesburg since 2011, acknowledged the arrest during a phone interview. It's very unfortunate, but I've learned from it, Fields said. Just never do it again. Pick up the pieces and move on. Hazard Police Chief Minor Allen said Fields was cited for driving under the influence after hazard officers received a call about 1 a.m. Sunday that someone had passed out in the drive-thru of a Taco Bell restaurant. Allen said an officer went to the restroom, found the person, and became concerned when the man couldn't be awakened. The officer summoned an ambulance, Allen said. Fields was taken to Hazard Regional Region Healthcare, according to published reports. Fields said Monday that he was taken to the hospital for a blood test, not because of his condition. Whitesburg Mayor James Kraft, that's James Wiley Kraft, our mayor, Whitesburg's mayor, was not available for comment Monday morning. There were several different articles that I read about that. He did not get in any trouble. That one there says that he was arrested, but the one that I read today said that nothing happened. He wasn't charged, and he was not disciplined. They were just going to move forward. Oh, thank you, Victoria, for our super sticker. Bless you, bless you, bless you. That makes you our stream sponsor. But we're getting ready to end for the night. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Love this nightly stream. It's a nice end to my day, Elizabeth. Chat and mods are also great and welcoming. Thank you. Great job, Matt, mods. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I live 2 miles from the filming of Deliverance. Those were the sheriffs. Holy cow. My kitty's over there wanting out. 77 likes left to get to 300. Go do it. Yes, please. Take a second and hit that like button for us. Look up State versus Flippo Babcock State Park murder. All right, let me take a picture of that so I can remember. Somebody sent me a whole bunch of stuff on Wilford Neese. Does anybody know who Wilford Neese is? Well, we've got all kinds of documents regarding some of his arrests, and then he went to prison and got in trouble for setting up some big rug ring while he was in prison. All right, guys. But we'll do a show on him too. I get behind on these comments, y'all. I'm so sorry. Hit 300. Hit that like button. All right, guys. Well, you all have a great rest of your night. I will see you tomorrow at 7. Okay? Y'all stay blessed. Stay warm. Peace out, Girl Scout.